Hello, everyone, and welcome to my first ever zero effort game review, where I will be reviewing the colossal giant Bioshock. Oh boy. I'd like to preface this and say this game is a really tough game to review for my first ever review. This is like the 50th take, and not a single one felt like it was adequate enough to upload. So I'm just gonna go it with this one. This is my final take. I am going to say that this game is a masterpiece. And it has set the benchmark for what a masterpiece means for all of these future reviews. In terms of visuals and art direction, story and character, like arcs and design, in terms of music and sound design and gameplay breakdown, everything is intertwined together in a beautiful concoction that made me revitalize my love and excitement for video games. Bioshock is an amazing game and a masterpiece. And now I'm going to try my best to explain the reasons as to why I believe so and why so many others believe so and why I think that every single one of them are right. I'm going to start off with, weirdly enough, the music and sound design because I actually want to get through this. The music is beautiful. 1950s and 1980s era music is played everywhere, in like shopping centers, in like through the corridors. And because it's highly capitalistic, each shop has its different vibe. There's like 30 different licensed on like songs and 12 original songs by Gary Scheinman. And honestly, I couldn't tell the difference between who composed what because all of them were so good. The songs and music and soundtrack within this game was beautiful. So beautiful, in fact, that every single VOD that I had while playing this game got copyrighted strike. But you know what? Don't regret it. It was good. I wanted more of it. And then in terms of like the weapons and like the sounds of the magic and all that sort of stuff that I'll go into detail later, every single one was viscerally satisfying to hear, and I loved it. That stuff was mwah. They really were meticulous about the sound, especially when, and like this goes into gameplay design, but when things scream or like certain small like interactions happen around you, you can tell from the sound when an enemy is coming, what sort of enemy is coming, like what sort of interaction is coming, what environmental effect is going to happen based off the sound. That is incredible that they could do that in such a short period of time. Train my brain to understand all of this and actually try bother to listen to it, and each of these being audibly clear, except for one thing. The audio logs were difficult to hear at some points. I will say that this probably is a me problem, that if I switch the like volume controls around, that I could probably fix this issue. But for me, I had a lot of problems in terms of the audio, which heavily actually influenced my first couple of sets of the review until I actually rewatched the VODs, and then I understood I was just an idiot. So yeah, with that, I'm gonna go into visuals and art direction. The visuals are a little bit old. That's just a given. But when everyone says graphics is whatever, art direction is forever, this is the poster child that people bring up every single time they bring up that argument. I'm 27 years old and I've never played this game until like 2 days ago. It is one of the most beautiful games that I've ever played through, and is one of the most believable worlds that I've ever like gone through. Like I would want a Disneyland version of Rapture, and I'd pay good solid money to go and see this place and see a Big Daddy and take a picture with the little sisters and stuff. The hyper capitalistic entrepreneur city of Rapture that is heavily plagued with civil war was one of the coolest worlds to explore. And the fact that it was functionally an open world, but on top of being an open world, every single level had a purpose and it like design. There was an entire area of trees that basically gave all of the oxygen to the city. Fishery, which supplied a lot of like the food for the area, because you know they're underwater. Or like where they do experimentations and like train the big daddies and the little sisters and stuff like that. And you see ABC blocks and kids stabbing little teddy bears with their guns and stuff. Like the art direction of this game is amazing. Propaganda posters and like commercial posters everywhere. Even the music telling you to have a great time. The art direction of this game is one of the best that I've ever seen. Actually, hands down, the best that I have seen in terms of trying to convey its world and the believability of it. Just, I kick myself thinking that I never played this game sooner. I'll leave it at that. In terms of story and character design, I don't know how to tackle this section. And I have to kind of talk about the art design and the gameplay because of this. This is one of those games when people say show not tell and the world tells a story is a prime case of that. And I really need to bring in an example. You walk into this area and you're supposed to find this guy. Forgot his name, but you walk in and you see a corpse of a girl in a wheelchair and her face is mangled, full of surgery. You look around and there's posters everywhere where girls just have their faces reorganized and magazine slots picked in, red lines drawn across everywhere saying it's not good enough, too fat, eyes too big, all these sort of things. And you just see more and more mangled corpses, more and more people screaming, wanting to be beautiful. And then you finally see the villain, a guy, a surgeon, like doing surgery upon like this like poor woman, and then he's like the spotlight comes on, it's like too skinny, too tall, too fat. And then the boss start fights and you hear the audio logs of these girls all wanting to be beautiful and how he's just like, you're not good enough. And how he just continued to do the surgery. And then you meet the guy. That's character development. I know who this person is, how fucking crazy he is, just by traversing the level. That's Bioshock storytelling. And the world building, it's definitely a component that I have to talk about. It's so believable, from the art, from the music, and like the layout of the level design. Everything makes me believe that this place exists. Like the fact that they figured out an air system using trees. That when you're going in between the new rooms and stuff like that, you're functionally in an aquarium. There's rivets everywhere and like cracks in the things, and you see people repairing them. Damn. And each character gets that same level of development. And then it's not necessarily spoiler for a review, but I gotta talk about Andrew Ryan. And when you meet him for the first time, and they hit you with that Bioshock twist of would you kindly, which I won't go into too much detail, because there's a part of me that really doesn't want to talk about it in case you actually have never played this game, like me. But I do want to talk about Andrew Ryan talking about what's the quotes that he said. I vaguely remember put it here. We all make choices, but in the end, our choices make us. Or like another great one where man chooses, a slave obeys. Like, honestly, all these characters were very, very memorable. And the civil war that was happening between Atlas and Andrew Ryan, like, damn. This story is hands down a 10 out of 10. I got nothing more to say to that. It's one of those like stories that I could go through each and every single plot point, but I don't want to. Because I feel like if you're watching this, just go play it. Because it's that good. It's that good that in this review, I have tried explaining the story and I have come to the conclusion that the story is so good that you should just play it. Don't listen to me, just go play it. That's how good the story is. And just experience the wonder of the world building and the interaction. I haven't even talked about the interaction between the big daddies and the little sister, which were some of the most interesting concepts in this game. This game is amazing. And now, 10 minutes in, I'm actually talking about the gameplay. It was revolutionary too. I cannot believe that this game has done better than it has a lot has a lot more thought put into each of its levels and enemies and all of that than modern day games. This game came out in 2007. I like if I was like tasked to make a shooter, I would use Bioshock as the baseline to develop all of the games. Every single weapon. Actually, let's talk about it. There's two types of combat types. You have like your weapons, and then you have your plasmoids, which are magic, which are powered by HP, and then Eve, and then atoms being your superpower. So Adam and Eve. More building upon the world building, which is absolutely beautiful. And each of these weapons are unique, and each of these weapons, which you get 8 of, have 3 different ammo types that function differently. And as you use them in unique and different ways with your magic, which is fire, electricity, ice, and all that sort of stuff, you can mix and match a concoction of ways to creatively kill the splices, which are the primary enemies that are junkies of like atom junkies that have gone crazy from all the like drugs in their system. Is one of the most funnest gameplays that I've ever done. Not to mention that this game took a lot of consideration of level design and how the enemies will interact with you, how the enemies are placed. In Half-Life, you'll pick the gravity gun, I think, with the speed, like the saw, and then you turn around, and then boom, there's a guy with a head thingy, and you kind of automatically let go of the mouse, and the saw goes and cuts through the person, and they die, and then you realize you learn how to do it. This game just did that for all of the interactions. That's amazing. Like, man, I can't geek out on more about this game. Like, when you find the shotgun, you're like, there is a shotgun with a spotlight on top of it. You pick it up, light cuts, and then you're swarmed by people screaming at you while you're just panically shooting your gun. And each time you get introduced to a new ammo type or a gun, a similar thing is happened. The game design is like each interaction is designed to help you understand how to use this weapon and how to have fun with this weapon, and then gives you plenty of ammo to use this weapon, and then just say, have fun. It gives the player so much options to utilize their weapons in unique and fun ways that it was honestly really fun to just play it on normal, like not the easiest, but like medium mode, and just experimenting with weapons. And that goes into the details of the upgrades to tonics, which felt great and cool. And you had like 6 slots for each like type, like your for your magic, for your physical traits to make you more powerful, or for hacking, which I'll go into detail later. And how you can mix and match these tonics, and each time you got something better, you like replacing one with the other and getting new slots and getting new upgrades felt really fun, cool, and you felt like you were getting more powerful. Now, that was great. Now I want to talk about the 2 things that I absolutely hated. The hacking system was one of the shittiest things I've ever done in my life. Holy shit. 50% of the enemy types are machines, whether they be turrets or flying turrets or like security cameras. Now, these things are all cool and dandy, but you can hack them. So now you have to individually go up to this thing after you shock, freeze, or whatever, and then press V. And then the screen stops, and you're in a mini game where you have to connect the pipes together. It takes you out of gameplay every time, and I absolutely hate it. I am remaking this review. I remade this review after I played Bioshock, so I won't go into too much detail now. But man, I'm so glad that they fixed it in 2. But in 1, it sucked to the point that I had to beeline all of the tonics, the power ups that helped with hacking to deal with it, because I hated the hacking so much. And you have to do it 50% of the time. Like if there was a mod to take out the hacking, I would do it in a heartbeat. And I don't play with mods. That's how much I hated the hacking. And two, the camera. The camera is like number 6 or 7, where you take pictures of things, but you literally aim, take the picture, screen freezes, you look at the picture, get a grading, and then it goes back to combat. It takes you out of the experience every single time, to the point that I refuse to use the camera. But you kind of need to use the camera apparently, because in later levels, it wasn't too much of a problem for me because I was playing on medium difficulty, but I could see my damage was scaling off hard at endgame because, I just didn't bother to use the camera, because you need to take more pictures of certain creatures and stuff like that so that you can do more damage to them using different ammo types. And because I refused to use the camera, I just didn't do any damage. So yeah. That's that. I hated the camera and I hated the hacking. The combat was viscerally fun. And it was the best usage of magic to physical weapon usages that I've ever done in my life. It was just handled the best. I've never seen a game do it better. And the fact that it came out in 2007 and no one has done it better yet kind of boggles my mind. And not to mention that the enemy placements were gorgeous. And how each time you pick up your weapon and learned how to interact with these new monsters or enemies was great. And the fact that the visual and audio cues for the things, there's things called Houdinis where you'll see a shimmer. And you're like, oh shit, a Houdini's here. And then you'll see a trail of red petals going off in a certain direction. And then you'll see a sound come from behind you. You look around and the Houdini's there throwing fireballs at you. That's such great enemy design. Or characters, or it's always in a dark room, and then you'll hear a sound of scuttering. You look up, and then there's this splicer crawling on the ceiling, throwing stuff at you, and then coming down. Another aspect of this game is psychological horror, and it's not jump scares. It's all planned. Everything is hiding in plain sight or plain hearing, and you just have to tune into stuff. And even items, they're hidden, and you just have to look. Looking around, this game rewards you for looking and going and interacting with things and experimenting with your abilities. That looks frozen. Can I defrost that with my spells? You do, and outcomes are great. So you go through it, and then you come into a new area, and you use your magic and your weapons to interact with the environment, and then you get rewarded with more loot and more ammo. Experimentation is greatly rewarded in this game. Hands down. Gameplay was amazing. So yeah, I kind of want to make each of my reviews less than 20 minutes. And once again, I said this is the last take that I'm going to make on Bioshock, because this is the 50th take. And I really want to go to bed. So I'm going to say visuals and art direction, 11 out of 10. Stories and characters, 11 out of 10. Music and sound design, 11 out of 10. Gameplay breakdown, 11 out of 10. This game is a bona fide masterpiece, and it is going to be up there directly with the greats. For me, Fallout New Vegas and Bloodborne and all that. Bioshock is up there. It is an amazing game, and I am so glad I became a streamer so that I could review games, because it gave me the chance to play this game, and I do not regret it. I am very tempted to go back and replay it immediately, because there's just so much that I can learn from it. So yes, thank you everyone for watching my first ever game review, where I was reviewing the colossal giant masterpiece Bioshock. And I will see you guys in the next review, which will probably be about Bioshock 2. Okay then. Thanks guys for watching. See yous, and I hope I see you next time.